Mission Possible, bridging the gap.
Say adios. Adios.
Between law enforcement and communities of autism. Reporting from Los Angeles, Marceline Aralo, Valley View News. Smile. I'm standing outside KTYM Studios where there's currently a live radio broadcast discussion in regards to Charles Belk. And due to recent activity, an earthquake can happen at any time. That last point may be one area where Democratic and Republican politicians agree. The youngest survivors of sex trafficking in California alone has been as young as the age of 8. So the next time you're sitting in class next to a deaf student, be respectful, because they're here to learn too. In Northridge, I'm Marceline Aralo, Valley View News.
For us, it's very important that racial profiling be stopped.
Activists are speaking out about Charles Belk, who was recently detained by Beverly Hills Police.
It dehumanizes people, anybody, to just be treated because of the color of their skin, that they're going to be stopped or inhibited from doing something in an area like Beverly Hills.
I'm standing outside KTYM Studios where there's currently a live radio broadcast discussion in regards to Charles Belk, an African-American producer who was arrested and detained for 6 hours in Beverly Hills the night of the Emmys. Sources do say they invited the Beverly Hills Police Department along with other city officials to come speak in this discussion, but they got no response.
And I think it's outrageous that they would have this man sit on the curb or sit in a police station for 6 hours not knowing whether or not he was factually involved in a crime.
This is an opportunity for the city of Beverly Hills to frontally address the issue of racial profiling.
But one person who witnessed Charles Belk arrest sees it differently.
The fact is that this particular incident was not racial profiling from what I saw. And in addition to that, based on what the circumstances were, they didn't treat him really like a suspect.
They get a call and they say there's a black man holding up the place, and they get there and he's the only black man. It just may be an unfortuitous circumstance, or it may not.
An internal investigation still continues. In Los Angeles, Marceline Aralo, Valley View News. Autistic children grow into autistic adults, and in a fast-moving police encounter, that can be a problem.
The purpose behind Mission Possible is to help the police learn about people with autism and help people with autism learn about the police.
People with disabilities are 7 times more likely to come in contact with law enforcement, and a lack of understanding and tools can cause interactions to escalate.
We're really aware that our officers are going to come in contact with kids who have autism and adults.
Officers fingerprinted and photograph the children. They'll keep those materials on file in case of future incidents. But the best part was just hanging out, having fun, and learning about each other.
It's nice talking to somebody I haven't met before who is struggling with a disability. And what I do appreciate is they can see us more as a human being. A lot of times we're faceless people driving in a car, and particularly when you have a disability, there may be a little bit of intimidation involved, and they're not sure they can talk to us, and they're not sure if they can ask us for help.
This young man was so inspired that he wants to be a police officer when he grows up, and he told us what his highlight of the day was.
Police cars.
These kids now have something new to share with friends and family as they head home. Mission Possible, bridging the gap.
Say adios. Adios.
Between law enforcement and communities of autism. Reporting from Los Angeles, Marceline Aralo, Valley View News. Smile. The shift of power from Democrats to Republicans in the Senate is not at all like the political climate in California. Here in Los Angeles, the largest city in a very blue state, Republicans are pleased, but some voters are worried.
And I feel really strongly that most of the Republican Party wants to take a lot of rights and choices away from women.
Voters have given Republicans full control over Senate, but what does that mean for the future of Americans?
Probably something along the lines of deregulation in and amongst our regulatory agencies. So that's probably what's on the horizon.
Make our economy more competitive, so to create more job opportunities, and then we have to tackle head-on this problem of skyrocketing college tuition, where people are paying a lot of money, a lot more money than they should be for their college education.
Obama could be faced with proposals to repeal Obamacare and budget cuts to many other programs.
What he has accomplished with a Congress that was dead set against cooperating with him at all for 6 years, what he's accomplished is extraordinary. It's historic.
You know, when President Obama was elected, he was seen as someone who was outside of Washington, who would change Washington, change America for the better. Now he's seen as a representative of everything that's wrong with government.
Some voters are not satisfied with the direction of the administration, but many Republican officials are now seeking bipartisanship to ensure a more functional Congress. But in order to make progress, more citizens need to start voting.
It really comes down to what we're doing locally. And I think we really need to get people out there voting more often, voting into what they need to be voting to, instead of just letting the small majority, do their voting for them.
It is a right that we have to vote, but I think it's even more of a responsibility to that right to be educated on what we're talking about and what we're voting on.
That last point may be one area where Democratic and Republican politicians agree. Both sides say people should be familiar with the issues they are voting on. Now, back to you in the studio. You have witnessed firsthand what it's like to deal with an incident with racial profiling. And not only has it taken time out of your life, you have also had developed an arrest record. Can you sort of explain what you had to go through to alleviate that?
I started asking around. A lot of folks who have been arrested don't know they still have an arrest record out there, and they need to get that expunged or it will stay with them.
How are you making progress with that so far?
3 months ago, I had a whole different plan for life. I was off, being marketing exec and kind of making films on the side. And since that one incident has completely changed my life. So I've dedicated now the next 6 to 9 months with this cause.
It's when, you get a call and you have not found the suspect that's accountable for said crime, and there's somebody walking by that sort of looks like the person that could be the person, you're not for sure. What's the protocol that you as a police officer take?
You ask a person for their identification and you find out where they live. You get their driver's license number, you get a birth date, you get a first child's name if that's what you need to do, so that you're able to follow up later on if you find out that this person was factually involved in this situation.
In your book that you mentioned that a lot of discrimination was allowed within law enforcement. So can you explain exactly some of those instances and what occurred that you experienced?
Well, I can just talk about for me personally, and I wouldn't categorize it as a lot, right? Okay, because discrimination is real and it happens. Right. Okay, wholesale. I work with good partners, but there were a few that just weren't really excited to see me.
Any last comments regarding this topic? Cheryl Dorsey, we'll start with you.
So I'll just say this real quick, just to kind of piggyback on what Charles just talked about. The patience that he showed, because what I encourage people to do, and it matters not your ethnicity, I say you cannot hold court curbside.
We have a lot of things to change in this country. We're not going to individually change everything, but we can individually change one thing. My one thing is auto erase. Your one thing may be something completely different, but do it. 10 years from now, all of our one things will have changed society.
They immediately deleted the entire website and its database. The CEO of Dick's Sporting Goods is apologizing to a young girl for failing to include female athletes in the company's basketball catalog. When we return, find out how student loans are impacting the U.S. housing market. Also, Toyota announces a recall on its older Corolla models. Stay tuned for more.